Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about homeschooling a gifted child. Now, if you don't know what a gifted child is, um, oh goodness, I should probably have looked up the definition exactly, but it's basically a child that has a higher IQ than your average child, and the higher their IQ, the more random their knowledge is. It's kind of weird. Basically, it's like they might be super smart in one area and be way advanced, but then another area be completely right on where they're at. Or maybe, I don't know, necessarily behind, but things they don't care about tend to kind of fall to the side because they're too busy thinking about this to worry about that. And so it may appear that they're kind of behind on it because they're so focused on this one thing, and so they're super ahead in that area. They also have what they call twice exceptional, I believe, and that means if they have a learning disability on top of being gifted. So in our case, I have a child who is gifted and has a little bit of dyslexia. It's not severe. He's able to kind of deal with it, and he kind of recognizes that he has that issue. But if you don't know that he has that and you aren't watching for it, you would think that he just was reading something wrong or did his math wrong, because if he's not really paying attention to what he's doing, he could easily write out a whole math page backwards. But I'm aware of that, and so I'm able to watch that. So anyway, I want to share just kind of how I homeschool him and what is working for us right now with my gifted child. I feel like I should add that not all children are gifted in the sense that I'm talking about. I mean, all children are a gift, and all children are smart in their own ways, and they all learn uniquely. And so homeschooling is a challenge for every parent to find what works best for your child. But if you have a child that is been labeled as a gifted or twice exceptional, you know what I'm talking about, and you can relate to what I'm going to be sharing. And so they say gifted, but sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift. If you're a parent like me, you know what I mean. It doesn't always feel like a gift. It's a challenge and a struggle. And yeah, so let me kind of show what's working for me right now. And this is always changing because he's always surprising me. He's always doing things that I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do with that? So this is just what we're doing right this minute, and it could change tomorrow. But we are going to a co-op this year, which is 1 day a week. So that's kind of nice, and that's really more for a social aspect than anything else. But I do really like the science that they're doing. They're doing this for science. It's exploring creation with human anatomy and physiology, and it's by Apologia. And he is really learning a lot by this. And we also did the journal, the junior version, and he's doing the journal along with them at co-op. And then at home, he's capable of reading this himself, but he doesn't really enjoy reading, and I do not like reading out loud. So what I have found for at home to read, I found this on audio. And so we listen to this on audio, and I love it because he is kind of an audio learner anyway. He loves to listen to things to learn them, but he is able to listen and follow along in the book. And so I feel like, sorry, the lighting's weird. I feel like it's helping with his reading as well as getting a science done. And what I'm really liking about this is it goes a lot more in depth than your average science program. The only downside to this is it's very focused. I mean, it's only about anatomy, so we don't really get any of the other sciences in there. But I do have a Becca's 3rd grade science that we also kind of just read on the side. I don't do anything that formalized. It's just kind of every now and then when I feel like we have a little bit of extra time or something, I might read a little bit something else. They enjoy listening to it and learning. So that's what we're doing for science. And I let him either follow along with that, or sometimes if he's just not really feeling that, I let him color while he's listening, and he still is retaining it because he's an audio learner. So it works well, and it kind of keeps him busy. Okay, now math, history, science, those are the things that he excels at. he just gets it like that and he goes on. So what we are doing for math right now is Becca's 3rd grade math. And he gets bored easy. Once he grasps the concept, he doesn't really want to deal with it again. So I stopped doing page by page. I was just doing every day we did lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. It wasn't working. He was fighting me. He hated it. The only time that he would do math without a big fight is if it was a new concept. So I now am using this almost more as a teaching resource. And I skip ahead until I find the next new concept. And we cover that. And then I found he also does better if he works on a whiteboard instead of in the textbook. So I will tell him, write this problem down on the whiteboard. So he'll write out the problem, he'll work the problem up there, and then I'm not actually writing in my textbook, but I'm still using it. So I'll go over the new concept with him. I'll have him work the problem a few times to make sure he's grasping it. And then we usually do a few review problems. I try and keep it short and simple. Sorry guys. All right, there we go. So we do a few review problems. Like I'll have him do a addition problem, a subtraction problem, a multiplication problem, and a division problem as review problems. And then we'll do, we'd already done our new concept problem. And sometimes, that new concept might already include a lot of that. And so I don't do as much. But I want to do a review to make sure he is remembering something he learned, a couple weeks ago. And then I do enough to make sure he grasps the new concept. So math does not take us that long because I can't hold his interest that long, but he's grasping it, you guys. He started out this school year not even knowing how to multiply, and now he can solve for a letter. Like he can solve for n. So yeah, he's getting it. And that's not with doing. We had struggles with math. He fought me. He didn't want to do it, and someone recommended that I start doing harder stuff with him. And I was like, I can't do harder stuff. I can't get him to do the simple addition problem. But I gave in, and I tried one day because I was so frustrated, and yeah, he got it and he did it, and I was like, okay. So apparently if it's too easy for him, he just doesn't want to do it. So I just keep pushing forward. And even though I feel like surely he can't do this because we've only done like one day of this, and you got to do this a lot before you can do this. I don't know. That's just not the way his brain works. And so we're just pushing forward. I said, with a gifted child, you just kind of take it a moment at a time and do what works, because it's challenging, guys. I get you. I know. You know what I'm talking about. Spelling. I don't. Why does it do that? All right. Spelling, I am not doing a whole lot in. I'm actually using my 1st grade spelling book, which he's a 2nd grader, by the way, just so you know, because their grades here are all over the place. But by age, he's a 2nd grader. He can spell all these words, but I'm using this in my 2nd grade book, and what I do is I will go between the two, and I just pick one. I just kind of have him do an activity in here or something, and then at the end of the week I'll ask him to spell some of the words to me, either orally or write them on the marker board. I don't tell him it's a test. I just kind of ask, and he usually can do just fine. We don't do a whole lot with spelling because I feel like the more he is reading, the more he just gets it and he knows how they're spelled. So we don't spend time really working on spelling anymore. And I only use that book not because he can't spell other words. It's just, it gives me some words to think of to ask him, because if I just think of my own, I can't think of words. And so that gives me a good variety of words to kind of ask. So I go between that and his 2nd grade book that I have, and just kind of pick words from. And then history, let's actually do English first. Okay, English, we actually did 2nd grade with him last year, but I felt like he doesn't like to write. He doesn't like to sit down and write a bunch of stuff. And Abeka's third grade English was really heavy in writing. And so they actually redid their second grade curriculum. So I repurchased this phonics and language second grade. And again, like the math, I don't do every lesson. I am just kind of using this as a reference more so for me, and I pick, like, we'll do maybe lesson 81 and then we skip ahead and do lesson 91 the next day. So I'm using it almost more of a review just to make sure that he has that good English foundation. And then next year, I think we'll just go straight into more like a fourth grade English program. So I'm just kind of using this as review, and then we're focusing a lot on reading this year. I am just getting, I also got this, which is new for Abeka this year, and this is nice because it has something for them to read, and then it's short and sweet, and then on the back it asks questions. And so it's a little bit more interactive, and he enjoys doing it more. So he'll read this and then answer the questions. And then another thing I've done this year is we are doing, I've purchased several books, and we've done the library. We are just getting books of things he's interested in. Because if it's something he's interested in, he suddenly can read a much harder book than when it's something he's not interested in. So I'm just having him read to me books that he's finding interesting. He's recently discovered the Hardy Boys. So we are doing some of the Hardy Boys because he finds that interesting. He's also listening to the Hardy Boys on audio, which I know that's not necessarily educational. But what I like is it's really getting his interest in reading. He's realizing that there is fun in reading and that there's things he actually wants to know. And it's piquing his interest to read more, since he started listening first and then started reading. Another thing I like to do, again, like with that, is you can give him a Hardy Boy book and the audio, and he can follow along while he's listening, and it's helping with some of those harder words he might struggle with. When he hears them read it, he's like, oh, that's that word. And he remembers that way. When he hears it and sees it, then he's going to remember that that's what that word was. That's just the way his brain works. For history, we are doing a map study because he loves maps, and he pretty much, I don't know if this is really even learning. It's almost more like it's just fun because he loves maps so much. I have not ever taught this child states. He just knows all the states. He knows all their capitals. I have never once told him. He has just figured it out. So I bought him that map study book for him to do just kind of on the side for fun, and he does that just whenever. He likes history. So we read history books just kind of for fun. I might read to them while they're coloring or something or doing a craft, or he might read something to us. We watch documentaries. He asks a gazillion questions, and my husband and I have been trying to be very intentional about accurately and fully answering his questions, because say we're driving home from church, he will ask us questions about the history of, I'm trying to think of a question he's asked. Say, I don't know, he'll bring something about the Civil War and ask something. And so thanks to iPhones, we're able to kind of Google and look things up and give him accurate answers to things. A lot of times we'll end up having a science lesson on the way home from church because he will ask why the moon looks this way where the night before it looked this way. Why did it look that way? What made the difference? Why did it get darker at this time instead of this time tonight? And honestly, I don't know the answers to all those things. So again, we Google, we look it up, we answer the best that we can, because if you answer his questions right when he's asking, he learns the best. If I wait and go over that like another time and I'm like, hey, come do this, let's learn this, his mind's on something else and he's not listening. So I try and kind of go with the questions he's asking, and we learn a lot just randomly in the moments. He likes to build with Legos a lot, so I I say I actually don't do this. I've just made sure I have a lot of interesting books. I have books about building, I have books about how things work, I have all kinds of like educational type books, and there's just a bookshelf in there, and he wants to build some with Legos. He will go find that in a book, look it up, figure out how something works, and then he can come tell me things that I did not know about how certain things work or why they do that. So I think kind of a trick I have found with a gifted child is just making sure they have a lot of resources, and they will kind of take things from there. But some things that they don't enjoy doing as much, it is a challenge because, like I said, their mind's on something else. They don't want to deal with this. So it takes some work getting them there. But I believe that, one second, you know your child. You know what's going to work best for your child. Do what you feel like you can. Don't feel too bad when things don't go the way you plan, because they hardly ever do for me. You're not alone. And thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Please leave comments, just a minute, below about anything that you have found that works for you. Or if you have any questions, I'd love to answer those to the best of my ability as well. And I will see you all later. Bye.